Hey everyone, I'm Jen from Jen's Weirdo Photography, and this month's viewer question is, can I add more than 1 year of family portraits to the same wall gallery? So for me personally, I like to take down last year's family portraits and create a whole new gallery with this year's family portraits, but it is absolutely possible to combine last year's portraits and this year's portraits in the same wall gallery. It just takes a little planning. First, you need to decide if you're going to add frames to last year's gallery or if you're going to keep the number of frames the same and just swap out some of the portraits. Now, swapping out works best if you have a fair number of frames in your gallery. So let's say 6, 7, or more. If you only have 3 or 4 frames in your gallery, you're better off just to take last year's portraits completely out and replace them with this year's. If you're going to add on to an existing gallery, I suggest you keep the frame the same. Everyone's outfits are going to be different and everyone is going to be a year older, obviously. So keeping the same frame and the same color keeps the gallery consistent. On the left, you can see this gallery as it looked when it was installed last year. On the right, we've replaced a few of the portraits with images from this year's session, and those ones are shown in gray. When keeping the number of frames the same, I like to swap out like for like. So for instance, you might replace last year's entire family portrait with this year's entire family portrait. Or perhaps you're going to keep last year's family portrait the same and just swap out the images of mom with the kids and dad with the kids. The portraits that you swap out of your gallery can be repurposed for other areas of your home. So for me, our upstairs hallway are kids' rooms and the playroom are my go-to spots for places to use portraits from last year. Your other option is to add additional frames to last year's gallery. On the left, you can see this gallery as it looked when it was installed last year. On the right, we've added in some new frames with images from this year's family session. Note that I don't just add the new portraits on the edges of the gallery, I mix them up so that they blend together nicely. And when choosing what images to add to your gallery, make sure you think of what your gallery looks like as a whole. So you want to keep the balance of candid versus formal and everyone looking at the camera versus not looking at the camera. You don't want too much of any one image. We always recommend you consider your home decor when choosing the outfits for your family portrait session so that the portraits look really good in the room that they're going to be displayed in. So I'm going to assume that you did that for the family portraits from last year. And so as you're planning outfits for this year's family portraits, keep those outfits from last year in mind. So imagine that instead of planning outfits for a family of 4, you're planning outfits for a family of 8. 4 family members from last year's portrait session and 4 family members from this year's portrait session. Now, of course, the outfits for the 4 family members from last year's portrait session have already been taken. So just keep those outfits in mind so you make sure that they are coordinated but not too matchy-matchy at the same time. You don't want to just wear the same outfits as last year. The easiest way I find to do that is to keep your accent color the same and then switch up the neutrals. Let's say that in your existing family portraits you're wearing blue, gray, and white. Perhaps in your new portraits you can keep a similar shade of blue but pair it with cream and army green. If you keep your session locations similar, your new portraits will coordinate nicely without looking too much the same or like you tried too hard. If you have a question you want answered, comment below or send an email to studio@jennisbeardo.com. Thanks so much for watching.